Okay, so today I wanted to do a brief lesson on the Council of 50's authority to test and accept revelations. And this is kind of a follow-up to my lesson last week on the Council of 50 as a priesthood body. I touched on this, but I didn't go into detail about it because my paper didn't go into detail, but I had another paper that did touch upon this, and I just want to do a short presentation on the material that's in that paper on the Council of 50's accepting revelations and authority to test a revelation. So Joseph Smith taught that the signs, keys, and order of prayer in the temple were to better aid the saints in receiving revelation and detecting false spirits and false revelations. And a couple of quotes on this are Joseph Smith, the Relief Society, on April 28th, 1842, he said, "The keys of the kingdom are about to be given to them that they may be able to detect everything false." Then on May 1st, 1842, he preached, "The keys are certain signs and words by which false spirits and personages may be detected from true, which can't be revealed to the elders till the temple is completed." And then on September 26, 1842, he said, for him to whom these keys are given, there is no difficulty in obtaining a knowledge of facts in relation to the salvation of the children of men, both as well as for the dead as for the living." And then, so Joseph first began giving these keys and ordinances to people in a body that came to be known as the Anointed Quorum or Holy Order, first organized on May 4th, 1842. And it was a secret group of men that he then later included women, which Joseph Smith committed these new temple ordinances to. This group met to perform regular prayer circles, perform endowments, and discuss church matters. So one thing that comes out after Joseph Smith's death is that the Anointed Quorum, according to the sources, is taught by Joseph Smith to have authority to test revelations before being given to the body of the church. During the trial of Sidney Rigdon on September 8th, 1844, the court issues involved Rigdon performing unauthorized temple rituals, claiming spurious revelations, and speaking evil of Joseph Smith and the 12 apostles, and basically threatening to bring calamity on the church. During this trial, many significant comments were made about the Holy Order, including that the Holy Order was the first quorum organized with authority to test revelations. So Orson Hyde first mentioned this, saying, quote, "It is known to some who are present that there is a quorum organized where revelation can be tested. Brother Joseph said, let no revelation go to the people until it has been tested here. Now I would ask, did Elder Rigdon call the quorum together and there lay his revelation before it to have it tested? No, he did not wait to call the quorum. Neither did he call the authorities together that were here." And so William Marks also made a statement in the trial of Sidney Rigdon confirming this and basically saying, "As respecting Rigdon's not presenting his vision or revelation before the first quorum, I could say that Elder Rigdon did not know that this order was introduced. Brother Joseph told us that he, for the future, whenever there was a revelation to be presented to the church, he should first present it to that quorum, and then if it passes the first quorum, it should be presented to the church. But Brother Rigdon did not know this, for he was only just brought into the quorum before he left to go to Pittsburgh." So this authority to test revelations was also alleged to have been given to the Council of 50. Both Peter Hawes and James White had recalled that Joseph Smith also gave the authority to test revelations to the Council of 50. In a statement given in January of 1879, James White had testified, quote, "In the winter of 1843 to 44, Joseph declared that he was specially commanded of God to set the church and kingdom of God in order. He did so by setting in order all the quorums of the church as manifest in vision to him in the following order: the deacons, teachers, priests, bishopric, elders, 70s, high priests, quorum of the 12 as traveling high council of the stake of Zion, the first presidency of the church, and the legislative body of the kingdom of God consisting of 50. From this later body was to proceed the law to govern Zion. No revelation or law could go to the church without being presented to and sanctioned by this body of 50. In early 1849, Peter Hawes tried to promote that the Council of 50 was the supreme body of priesthood over the church government as well. Orson Hyde recording that, quote, "He, Peter Hawes, delivered several long and loud speeches about the power of the 50, the rights of its members, the principles taught by Joseph, that no revelation could be given as a command to the church without the sanction of the 50. So in response to Peter Haas, George A. Smith deflected by indicating that was the anointed quorum was the body intended to test revelations. Quote, there is a quorum organized by Joseph where the truth of every document professing to be revelation could be tested. That quorum had no members in it but those who held the priesthood, but not so with the 50. It had members in it who did not belong to the church. But this raises the question, if this was the case, why was if the anointed quorum was really intended to be a presiding body over the church to test revelations, why was it disbanded in December of 1845 and not continued, while the Council of 50 did continue into the early Utah period up until 1885? So it's possible that these guys were just being confused. James Whitehead, so Peter Haas, it's always a possibility that he was confused, but James Whitehead was aware of both the anointed quorum and the holy order, and that they were both given authority to test revelation. And he thought that the 12 were wrong to disband the anointed quorum. Father Cutler claimed to be, and so he said, quote, Father Alpheus Cutler claimed to be president of the church, but he never was ordained to the office of president. I know what he was. He was a member of the High Council, one of the quorums that God gave through Joseph for the protection of the church from false spirits and false revelations. And if that quorum had not been destroyed, they never could have introduced the things they did introduce. And so in my view is that the Council of 50 was originally intended by Joseph Smith to be a further development of the Holy Order, and that the Holy Order was merely a temporary vehicle to bestow temple ordinances and to perform the rites of the temple until it was superseded by other priesthood organizations. But is there any compelling evidence to support the view that the Council of 50 was a body intended to receive and test revelations? And I would say, yes, there is a number of things. In 1844, Joseph Smith basically said that the Council of 50 were to bring all the droppings from the presence of God to him as all the light and knowledge they could receive, and that he would enlarge on it if necessary, indicating that they were to receive revelation as Council of 50 members. And then in the 1845 Council of 50 minutes, Alma Babbitt acknowledged that the Council of 50 had authority to receive revelations. He said, quote, when a revelation comes from the proper source, i.e. the prophet, priest, and king, that is the law to me. But I understand that when a subject is presented before this council, we have to investigate it. And when we agree upon it, that is a revelation. That is the mind of God. And then under both Brigham Young and John Taylor, it's significant that the Council of 50 as a body is utilized to receive and accept revelations before being presented to other priesthood bodies or to the church. So the Council of 50 received revelation under Brigham Young. So Brigham Young told his new doctrinal revelation that, quote, we are in eternity and the millennium has now commenced, to the Council of 50 before presenting it to the church. Brigham taught it to the 50 on February 27th, 1845, and then it was later presented at General Conference on April 6, 1845. And then the only canonized revelation Brigham Young had that was included in the Doctrine and Covenants, D&C 136, was given on January 14th, 1847, and it was first presented to the Council of 50 to be accepted by them before other lesser quorums of the church. And this is recorded by John D. Lee in his journal on January 15th and 16th, 1847. Quote, 15th and 16th in council with the 12 at E.T. Benson's, when the word and will of the Lord concerning the journeying of Israel was first laid before the councils, a revelation to the church, and acknowledged by the Council of 50. The revelation was then presented to the first presidency of the 70s, and so down and acknowledged. So it was clearly presented to the 51st and then other priesthood quorums and the general body of the church later. So then under John Taylor, in 1882, he received two revelations in June of 1882, and they were first presented to the Council of 50 before to be accepted as the word of the Lord before being given to other bodies. And this is recorded in John Henry Smith's journal on June 27th, 1882. Quote, the Council of 50 met twice a day and discussed various plans as bearing upon election matters. Brothers L.W. Hardy and E.H.B. Clausen were received as members of this society. Two revelations were accepted as the word and will of God. They were given through President John Taylor, and in the same, the Lord has promised to fight our battles for us. So one of those revelations was directed to the Council of 50 specifically, and was about the kingdom of God, while the other was a revelation on celestial marriage. And both these revelations can be found in Unpublished Revelations, Volume 1, 3rd edition, pages 343 to 349. And so I think it's abundant that, clearly Joseph Smith intended the Council of 50 to be able to receive revelations before being given to the church. Otherwise, why would they be doing that under both Brigham Young and John Taylor? And this is just one other piece of evidence that the Council of 50 was intended to be a presiding priesthood body over the church and kingdom of God on the earth.